Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Happy New Year.
I know it's Friday.
Yeah.
We usually drop these on Thursdays.
Right.
But YouTube had a bit of a New Year's hangover, I guess you could say.
Uh-oh.
So we're just getting back on track this week.
Okay.
Speaking of getting back on track,
Yeah.
let's dive into those fascinating acting notes you sent over.
Yes.
It's like a whole masterclass.
It is.
In how to take a performance to the next level.
Absolutely.
It really is like peeking behind the curtain and seeing the tools that actors use to create those truly mesmerizing moments on stage or on film.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
We've talked about some acting basics before in the show, but
Yeah.
this is different.
It is.
This gets into the nitty-gritty,
Deeper.
like micro-expressions, using silence, even this thing called Laban movement analysis.
Oh, yeah?
Have you ever heard of that?
I have.
It's fascinating.
It is.
So tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it breaks down movement into different components. Body, effort, shape, and space. And it helps actors create unique physicality for their characters.
So it's not just about whether a character walks or sits, but how they do it.
Exactly.
Like a confident character
Yes.
takes up space, moves directly.
Direct, strong movements, yes.
While someone shy might shrink back, use small gestures.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
You know, smaller, lighter movements, perhaps indirect movements.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, like, picture a character like Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yeah.
His confidence and intellect are often conveyed through his sharp, precise movements.
Precisely.
He leans in, observes intently, almost dissects his surroundings with his eyes.
That's a great example.
Yeah. You can try this out too, listen.
Yeah.
Think of a character you love.
Right.
Maybe from a book or a film.
Mm-hmm.
How do their movements add to their personality?
Exactly.
Do they take up space or try to disappear?
Right.
It's a whole new way to watch a performance.
It is.
It really is.
A whole other layer.
What really caught my eye in these notes was this section on micro-expressions.
Fascinating.
Right?
What are those? So these are tiny, involuntary facial movements that can reveal what a character is really feeling, even if they're trying to hide it.
So you could have a character saying they're fine, but a fleeting look of sadness in their eyes tells a different story.
Well, absolutely.
Like everyone's walking around with a poker tail and we just don't see.
Right.
How does an actor even learn to control those tiny muscles?
It takes a lot of practice
What?
and a deep understanding of human emotion.
Okay.
Actors need to train themselves to convey subtle emotions, like suppressed anger or hidden joy,
Wow.
through these tiny, almost imperceptible movements.
So it's like adding a whole other layer of storytelling.
It is.
It makes you wonder if you could learn to spot these in real life.
Yeah.
Like imagine you're in a negotiation
Uh-huh.
and you catch that tiny eyebrow raise or tightening of the jaw,
Yes.
even though the person says they're on board with your proposal. Suddenly, the whole dynamic shifts.
Right.
You know, there's more to the story than what's being said.
Absolutely.
And as an actor, mastering this adds depth to a performance.
For sure.
Imagine playing a villain who seems charming, but whose micro-expressions hint at their true sinister nature.
Chilling.
Now that's chilling.
Right.
Like we're getting a secret window into people's true thoughts and feelings.
A little bit. Yeah.
Speaking of emotions, these notes also mention a technique called emotional substitution.
Yes.
I know we've talked about emotional recall before on the show,
Right.
where actors use their own memories to bring authenticity to a role. How is substitution different?
Well, emotional recall can be very intense.
Okay.
With substitution, instead of reliving, say, the grief of losing a parent,
Yeah.
which could be too painful,
Right.
the actor might tap into the memory of losing a beloved pet.
Okay.
It's still a powerful emotion,
Right.
but maybe more accessible and a little bit healthier.
Yeah. Emotional substitution sounds interesting. But isn't that just method acting light?
Oh,
Where's the line between healthy channeling and potentially messing with your head?
That's a great question,
Yeah.
and one that actors and acting coaches grapple with constantly.
Right.
It's a delicate balance.
I bet.
The goal is to access raw emotion without compromising mental well-being.
Right.
A skilled actor can use substitution to tap into universal feelings without having to relive specific personal trauma.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot where you can be vulnerable and authentic without getting lost in the emotions.
Exactly.
You know, as a listener, you could even apply this to your own life.
Absolutely.
Imagine you're writing a story about heartbreak, but you haven't experienced it personally. You could think back to a time when you felt deep disappointment
Right.
even if it wasn't romantic.
Yeah.
It might help you access that raw emotion and bring it to the page.
Absolutely. It's about finding those emotional parallels that resonate without overwhelming you.
Good.
And it highlights how these acting techniques can be relevant even off the stage.
I'm starting to see that.
Yeah.
Speaking of techniques, this is a bit of a change of pace, but the notes also emphasize the power of pay. Silence.
Yeah.
It might seem counterintuitive, but in acting, silence can be just as impactful as words.
It can. It's about those pregnant pauses, the moments where tension builds, where the audience leans in waiting for the character's next move.
This is making me rethink how I watch actors.
Yeah.
I want to be more attention to how they use space the next time I'm at the theater.
Me too.
How about you, listener?
Think about it.
It's like a whole secret language we often overlook.
We do.
Think of a scene where a character is about to confess a secret.
Right.
A well-placed pause before the reveal can make it that much more powerful.
Absolutely.
It's like the silence amplifies the emotions, creating a space for the audience to really feel the weight of what's being said or not said, as the case may be. Next time you're watching your favorite film or show, I challenge you to pay attention to the silences.
It's true.
You might be surprised by how much they add to the story.
For sure.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful moments are those where nothing is spoken.
It's true.
And for actors, mastering the art of silence can be just as crucial as mastering their lines.
Absolutely.
So we've seen how faces betray emotion, but now with Laban, we see the whole body is a storytelling tool.
It is.
You as the listener could.
Speaking of adding depth, these notes also talk about accents,
Oh, yeah.
but not just mimicking the sound.
Yeah, there was something about the historical and cultural context of an accent. Right? It's not just about getting the pronunciation right, but understanding the history behind it.
Precisely.
Imagine an actor trying to master a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
It's not just about rolling the R's.
No.
It's about understanding the history, the geography, the social dynamics that have shaped the way people speak in that region.
Absolutely.
It's like an accent carries the weight of a whole culture.
It does.
It's a story in itself.
Yeah.
I bet if we really listened, we could hear those stories woven into the way people speak.
I think so too.
What stands out to you about the accents in, say, a film set in a different country?
For me, it's about capturing the musicality, the rhythm of the language. A good accent should feel organic, natural.
Right.
It's not just about the words themselves, but the way they flow together that pauses the inflections.
It's like learning a whole new way to express yourself, even if you're not fluent in the language.
I agree.
Now that we're talking about accents, these notes also go deeper into the actor's voice itself.
Oh, yeah.
Vocal dynamics. It's not just about projecting, but using pitch, pace, and volume to convey emotion.
Right.
Think of a character who is typically shy and soft-spoken.
Okay.
Now imagine that character having to deliver a powerful speech, perhaps in a moment of crisis.
Yes.
The actor needs to convey that shift internally through their voice. They might speak slower, lower their pitch, and project with more force to show that inner strength emerging.
Absolutely.
It's like their voice becomes a reflection of their emotional journey, a way to show how they're evolving and transforming throughout the story.
It's true.
I'm starting to realize how much nuance goes into a truly captivating performance.
Absolutely. And there's still so much more to uncover.
Right.
These notes delve into the art of masking,
Yeah.
where actors portray characters who are hiding their true emotions. It's about creating that tension between what's being shown outwardly and what's simmering beneath the surface.
Oh, like the classic scenario of the clown who's secretly sad.
Exactly.
Okay.
That duality can be so powerful to watch unfold.
I bet.
It adds a layer of complexity and intrigue to the character and makes their emotional journey even more compelling.
It's like a puzzle waiting to be solved, and the audience gets to be part of that process of uncovering the character's true self.
Exactly.
Now that we've been talking about hiding emotions, this next topic is going to sound a little out there.
Okay.
The concept of engrams.
Engrams.
Yeah.
That's a term that comes from Dianetics.
Okay.
And it refers to memory traces those imprints left on the subconscious mind by past events.
Okay. I'm intrigued, but also a bit wary.
Sure.
Before we get too deep into how actors might use engrams,
Yeah.
can you help us understand more about this concept?
Of course.
What exactly is Dianetics,
Yeah.
and why is this idea of engrams so, well, a little out there?
Yeah, I can understand that. Dianetics is a set of ideas about the human mind developed by L. Ron Hubbard, and it's been a bit controversial over the years. At its core, it suggests that our experiences, especially traumatic ones, leave these imprints, these engrams on our subconscious.
So it's not just about remembering what happens,
Yeah.
but the emotional and even physical residue that lingers.
Exactly.
Okay.
Imagine you burnt your hand as a child.
Okay.
The physical scar might fade,
Right.
but the engram, the emotional memory of that pain, can linger. An actor could access that enneagram to portray fear or vulnerability, bringing a depth to the performance that goes beyond simply mimicking the emotion.
So that makes the idea a little less out there
Yeah,
and more about tapping into something very real, how past experiences shape us, even if we're not fully aware of it.
absolutely. And that's what makes it both fascinating and potentially problematic for actors.
I can see where that could get tricky.
Yeah,
I mean, isn't there a risk of actors getting lost in those emotions, especially if they're tapping into something traumatic?
there is.
Where's the ethical line?
It's a crucial question, and one that acting coaches and therapists who work with actors debate all the time.
Right.
It's not about forcing someone to relive trauma.
Okay.
It's about finding healthy ways to access those deeper emotional layers, ideally under expert guidance.
So it sounds like the key is using engrams as a tool for understanding and portraying human experience,
Yes.
but not as a form of therapy or self-exploration.
Precisely.
Okay.
And it's interesting to think about how this concept could be applied to different cultures and storytelling traditions.
Yeah.
These notes specifically mention African storytelling, and I think that's a particularly rich area to explore.
Now that you mention it, it seems like a perfect fit.
It does.
Given the history of the continent, the generational trauma, the resilience,
Right.
there's a lot to unpack there.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Think of a scene where a grandmother is sharing stories of colonial rule with her grandchildren.
Okay.
The actress portraying her could tap into the enneagram of, say, being forced off her land, the loss of cultural identity, the struggle for survival. It wouldn't just be a story, it would be a lived experience channeled through the performance.
It's giving me chills just thinking about it.
Right.
And by witnessing that, the audience, even if they don't share that specific heritage, can connect with those universal emotions.
Yes.
Loss, grief, the fight for freedom.
Powerful stuff.
It's a powerful example of how engrams can be used to create empathy and understanding across cultures and generations.
Right. It is.
It highlights the potential of theater and film to not just entertain, but to heal and bridge divides.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's a beautiful thought.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that even though engrams come from a specific school of thought,
Right.
their application in acting can be much broader.
It can.
It's about finding those emotional touchstones that resonate with the human experience.
Exactly. And the notes offer another poignant example. A village mourning the loss of lives after a flood. The actors could tap into that collective grief, the enneagram of sudden loss. The fear and uncertainty that accompanies such a disaster.
So it wouldn't just be about acting sad. It would be about channeling that shared experience, that communal trauma, and
Exactly.
allowing the audience to process it alongside the characters.
It's almost like a form of collective catharsis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is making me rethink the whole concept of acting.
Uh-huh.
It's not just about pretending. It's about tapping into something much deeper, something that connects us all.
I agree. And I think what's exciting is that even though we've been talking about acting, these techniques, these insights into human emotion and behavior,
Right.
they're relevant to everyone.
It's like we've been given a backstage pass to the inner workings of human emotion.
Yeah.
But we don't have to be actors to use this knowledge.
We don't.
Right.
We can apply these observations to our own lives, become more aware of our own nonverbal cues, pay attention to the subtle signals people send. It's about developing a deeper understanding of human interaction.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like we're upgrading our social software, becoming more mindful communicators and more empathetic human beings.
I like that.
And all thanks to acting notes. Who knew?
It's amazing what we can learn from the arts.
It's amazing to think that by exploring these acting techniques, we're actually learning so much about ourselves and how we connect with others.
It's true.
It's like those techniques are a secret decoder ring for human behavior,
Yeah.
helping us understand not only what people say,
Right.
but what they don't say,
Right.
and what their bodies and faces might be revealing.
Exactly.
We've covered so much in this deep dive. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of acting,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with a challenge.
Okay.
Pay attention. Observe the people you interact with.
Yeah.
Notice the subtle